Oh boy, y'all, it's finna get hot and spicy. They say the truth will set you free. They've been blowing me up. Y'all have been going crazy, man. I'm here, y'all. I'm back to it now. Hey, you see, we've been dropping like crazy, man. Thank y'all for all the love and support. We keeping it real, man. We're disciplined. We're focused. And we're going to end this month on an amazing note. And it's going to be too big to rig on November 5th, y'all. Go out and vote. But oh man, exposing Kamala, comrade, chameleon, Kamala, communist. Boy, man, I'm telling you, man, it is not looking good. Especially you thought it was over last month. You thought it was over last week. It gets worse. I told you it gets worse and worse and worse. And the more that they send this lady out there, it gets worse and worse and worse. The more interviews, the more she talks. You know, she's not a presidential candidate. You know, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm just being real, man. I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, blue, red, Republican, Democrat. We're just being real, man. We look at both sides. And I myself that used to be an anti-Trumper, a never-Trumper. I had Trump derangement syndrome. I listened to the fake news, the mainstream media, the enemy of the people, the fake news, the bias reporting, the fake headlines, family and friends. I had to think for myself, man. And it's all out there, you guys. It is all out there. No matter how you want to look at this, how you want to look, it's all out there, sadly. And it's not looking good for this lady, man. I tell you, it is not. Huge shout out to Candace Owens. And again, I want to send my prayers and love to you guys. Prayers for Candace. Prayers to all my independent media, my content creators. Because, man, we have done, I'm telling you, we have done some things this year, y'all. Boy. We talked about some things, and then she's speaking on things. People disappear. I'm telling you, people disappear. People disappear. Prayers for Trump. You know, his family, his team is coming. We don't know what to expect next. You know, they don't want him here. They don't want him alive. They're shaking out their shoes right now because he isn't in prison and he isn't dead. I tell you, God got some bigger plans, man. All glory to the kingdom, baby. And one love to the human race. I love you guys, man. And we wishing the best in everybody's life in this short time travel that we live in. I keep saying that because I mean it, you guys. Millions are struggling and dying right now. And unqualified, uncommon people that don't care for you want promotions. People with fake false promises. Opportunity economy, dreams, aspirations, the middle class. I was a prosecutor. They say, come on in. While we the people come last and struggle. Tell you, man. Time for a change. But look what they're saying in the comments before we get into this video. Imagine selling out your own grandma for political gain. The lowest of the low. Joe Rogan needs to know this if he even does that interview with her. She must be confronted. Man, she didn't just borrow a black person. She borrowed her own slave. She never had to live the life of a slave, but is trying to benefit from her own slave. That's very evil. Oh boy. Man, at this point, Candace knows more about Kamala's heritage than probably Kamala herself. Let's get into it, y'all. Hit that like button, man. It's fun to get real. And Candace Owens, I'm telling you, she's doing that thing, y'all. She is doing that thing. Boy, it's fun to get real in this bad boy, man. And again, make sure you go out and vote. It's Trump 2024 over here, y'all. We need common sense back. We need common sense. You know. Because right now, we the people come last. We want economy, safe borders, you know, no wars. You know, just common sense. The party of common sense. Let's go and get into it, man. It's finna get real.
Well, I am not quite sure what to say here, other than I humbly submit myself for your consideration to receive a Pulitzer Prize, maybe Time Person of the Year, a Golden Globe, a Grammy, something. I deserve something for my staunch commitment to the defense of Janet Jackson, because guess what has happened? And by the way, this is not even unbelievable. It's actually the most believable thing in the world. A Jamaican woman has stepped forward who I can verify to you knew Kamala's grandma Beryl. And she remembers her affectionately, by the way. Apparently, Grandma Beryl was a wonderful woman. She adored Kamala's Grandma Beryl. It was just one minor detail that was off. You see, the Beryl that she knew, the one that Kamala presented in her book, was not her, because the Beryl she knew was white. Yeah, let's get started. Welcome back to Candace.
Boy, this is getting real. And if you missed our last the videos and episodes to this series, man, make sure you go check them out if you missed them. But men off joy and identity politics. It has to be policy, not identity politics. And if you're voting off identity politics, you are a part of the problem that we have now. And this is one reason why Barack, Barry, Big Mike, they're sweating. Everybody, that Democrat Party is sweating right now because they actually thought identity politics were going to move the needle. Keep your puppet hidden. Y'all should have kept your puppet hidden. She might actually look better in the polls right now if you kept her hidden. Just be honest. And I think they should honestly just swap Joe back in.
All right, so all of this was really just common sense. I know it's not that common anymore, but it really was common sense from the beginning. And I want people to know, let the record show, let the history books show that all I did was conduct basic Black people science. I looked at this photo here, the photo that Kamala put in her book of her and Grandma Beryl, and I said, no.
Nope.
Scientific consensus rejects this theory for a ton of reasons. One of them being, I just didn't feel like this woman was her grandma. I have a Caribbean grandma. They're all up in your face. I don't feel the affection in this photo. I'm not thinking this is a very dark woman. I'm not thinking this is the mother of Donald Harris at all. Like, I know genetics can be funky, but I was going, this woman does not look like she owned and operated a store. There were so many things that were throwing me off. Even the whole story of the grandparents owning all of these stores. I'm going, what are you talking about? 1914 to 1938 in Jamaica, but we were just getting out of slave chains. And you're telling me like your family just became like so dominant and we're running these dry goods stores and this grandma had that. Something was off, okay? And what was off was just the photos they were presenting. These people were too Black. And then once we started looking into it, the fact that her campaign just shut off the tap on speaking about her Blackness. They just wanted to move on as if she had never said it. It was the entire brand. Remember, that's the pitch. She's going to be the first Black female president of the United States. The media was trying to sell that, to force feed that to us. And I said, Black scientific theory says, no, this ain't your grandma. But I was receiving a ton of emails from people that were insisting that Beryl was Kamala's grandmother. Among the emails were a flurry of people suggesting that I speak to a woman known as Lady Colin Campbell. She also goes as Lady C. I'm familiar with her work. I've seen her. She's written in the Daily Mail before, or has been written about in the Daily Mail. She's a British Jamaican author and a socialite who grew up in Jamaica. And she is deep on genealogy. She's written several books regarding the British royals. This woman likes history. She likes facts. And someone had sent me a clip of her from her YouTube channel during which she was fielding questions and people were asking her to look into my research into Kamala Harris. And she said, rather offhandedly, that she had asked around and that she had a friend that was on the island who had confirmed to her that Beryl was, in fact, Kamala's grandmother, seemingly putting to rest all of my theories. But I remained completely undeterred, and I just ignored it. Lady C said that she was hoping to host that friend on her podcast in the future, and that the woman would spill all of the tea on how she knew Kamala's grandmother, Beryl. So I just waited. I waited for the future to arrive, and guess what? The future has arrived.
Ooh.
And as promised, Lady C hosted Dorothy, that's the woman's name.
Oh, Dorothy.
Dorothy, the woman who knew Grandma Beryl. And I will tell you, the conversation did not go as Lady C expected. I think primarily because people who did not watch every episode of this series into Kamala were not quite understanding what we were uncovering. There were all of these people making response videos. I was going, you clearly did not watch everything that we're doing. We never said that Beryl did not exist. We always believed that Beryl existed. We simply did not believe that the woman that was presented in Kamala's book was her. We believed that this was a case of stolen identity. Essentially, there was a Beryl but the woman that was being pictured was not the grandma. And they were playing funny business like commies do, switching identities.
Know about them
and
commies.
it was strange that even though Kamala presented a picture of Grandma Beryl in the book, she didn't mention her at all in the book. What's up with that? You're just trying to blackify yourself. Well, Lady C likes research. Lady C was good on her word. She hosted Dorothy. So let's watch the first part of their conversation. This is Dorothy, again, the Jamaican woman who grew up and knew Grandma Beryl, Miss Beryl, personally. Take a listen.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. We have a special guest with us today, Dorothy Otti, who is an old friend of mine. She's Jamaican, and she used to know Miss Beryl very well. They grew up in the same village.
Well, I grew up in the village where Miss Beryl lived. She was a lot older than me, of course. And Miss Beryl is the grandmother of Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And she was just the most delightful lady. I have such fond memories of her. Excuse me. So there's a sweet that you have in Jamaica as a child, or grown-ups eat the sweet that's made from coconuts and caramelized sugar, and it's called a buster. Have you ever had?
Darling, in my day it was called Bustamante Backbone.
Okay, so it was called a buster. And Miss Beryl had a shop. And in the mornings, my Uncle Cecil would take me by the hand. We'd go up the road for a walk. And on the way, everyone that goes past, it would be, "Good morning, Master Cecil. And how are you, Miss Dar?" And by the time we got to Miss Beryl's shop, she would either offer me a buster or this other delicious sweet called a paradise plum.
Yes, I remember Paradise.
Yeah, but Miss Beryl, she was just so lovely. We would have these conversations as a little girl whenever I went past with Uncle Cecil, and it was always, "How are you doing with your books? Are you reading? Are you learning your times table?" Of course, she was a businesswoman, so she was very good at things like mathematics, of course. And she was, looking back now, you could see she was a trailblazer. Because the shop that she had, she actually built it herself. So we lived in a village, and her shop was the only what you would call an upstairs, downstairs house. All the other houses were like bungalows on one level with gardens and stuff. I remember in our garden, we had gladiolas.
Okay, a couple of things flagged to me as interesting there. So she was really good at mathematics. Okay, so we're talking about a black person. Again, this would not have been more than a couple of decades removed from slavery. And she was really good at mathematics, extremely well-read, owned and operated a shop, and had the biggest house. I mean, what are we talking about? This doesn't feel like the correct kind of a black story that I'm used to. A couple of generations ago, you go back, most black people have my grandparents' sharecropping farm. I mean, maybe, who knows? I'm like, okay. Very clearly, though, we know she's telling the truth right away, because this is a good fact check against what Donald Harris wrote when he wrote a story about their Jamaican heritage for Jamaican Online Global. And he talked about those bustas. He talked about him and his sister Enid and how they loved the bustas. I think he said it was around Easter time. So everything she's saying sounds correct. But it was this part, this next part, that instantly let me know that this woman was the real deal, because she presents a detail, something that I know to be a fact that I had not ever presented to the public. Remember when I told you that I got on the phone with a family member of Kamala Harris? And that family member told me that Donald Harris had two siblings, Enid Harris, who I have spoken to you guys about, and another sibling who I had never mentioned, was Beryl's son, and his name was Kenneth. And this woman starts speaking about the Kenneth that I had never mentioned, who would be Donald Harris's brother. Take a listen.
Oh, boy.
Was it a village or was it a hamlet? How many people would have been in it? How many houses? How many residents?
So at one time, everyone that lived there, was a village. There was probably about 80 or 90 people. But at one time, everyone that lived there was a relative of mine.
Really?
Yes.
What about Miss Beryl?
So this would have been before people such as Miss Beryl moved there. But before that, everyone who lived there, and even as a child growing up, most of the residents were connected in some way on my mother's father's side, my grandfather's side, where they were all related. But Miss Beryl, my darling, also had a son. He was called Kenneth, and Kenneth had a motorbike, the equivalent of what we would now call a Harley Davidson. And of course, so at the time I would have been no more than 4 or 5. I'm not interested in what make your bike is. And he would put me on the front of the bike, whenever I came past with Uncle Cecil. And I would sit there and he would switch the engine on. And of course, looking back now, I realize the bike never moved. But he just held on to me. And I thought I was riding a bike. And I grew up absolutely loving motorbikes. He was very handsome.
Oh, Beryl must have had some money. Her son has the equivalent of a Harley Davidson. He was very handsome. He's got riding around on his motorbike. What are we talking about here? Like I said, this is when I knew that this woman was dialed in, because I had never spoken about Kenneth publicly, not for any particular reason. I just literally hadn't gotten around to it as I've been collecting all of this evidence to present to the public on Kamala's family and looking into Enid and looking into Kenneth. So very interesting. Again, sounds like this Beryl had a lot of money. It's just not giving the person that is pictured in Kamala's book. Now, of course, naturally, Kamala Harris then comes up in this conversation. And Dorothy keeps this same positive energy. She's very positive, right? She has a spirit about her. She has this fond memory. Delightful. She's delightful in her approach about Beryl. And she's delightful in her approach about Kamala. And Kamala's features. She really likes Kamala's facial features. I'll tell you why. Take a listen.
And Miss Beryl, by the way, I see Vice President Harris on the box. And I sit up straight and I think, my God, she looks so much like Miss Beryl. Her facial features. The only thing is Miss Beryl was much smaller in stature. But
well, okay, Miss Beryl, because Kamala is very fair-skinned.
Right.
Was Beryl fair-skinned?
Yes, she was.
She was?
She was. She was fair-skinned.
She was? Okay.
Yes, she was very fair-skinned.
Oh.
With black hair.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So she was so fair-skinned that now that I'm older and I can spot people by their skin coloring, etc., for me, I would say there was something Irish there.
How interesting.
One plus two is 3. What is 2? 2 plus 3 is 5. 1 plus 1 is 2. Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say somewhere along the line she would have had ancestors that were Irish. Yes.
Actually, can I show you a photograph?
Of course.
Of an old lady.
Yes.
And some people speculate that this is Miss Beryl.
Right.
So, sorry, bear
That's
with me.
okay.
I am so untechnological.
Okay.
It's just pathetic.
Look at Candace. Look at Candace.
There we go.
Okay. Nah, that's not Miss Beryl.
That's not Miss
It's
Beryl.
definitely not Miss Beryl.
Okay.
That's not Miss Beryl.
So,
And
that means you have to just show it.
Yeah.
So,
that is not Miss Beryl.
That's not Miss Beryl.
Definitely not Miss Beryl.
Okay.
And I know what
That's the one in the book. Ooh, it's getting spicy.
she looks like. I couldn't have been in a dream, and she definitely did not look like that.
There's another person, but could that be Miss Beryl?
No, that's not
That's
Miss
not
Beryl.
Miss Beryl
That's
either.
not Miss Beryl either.
Okay.
Don't know who that is.
Okay.
Look at her face.
That's not Miss Beryl.
Flag on
That
the-
ain't Miss Beryl. You know, as you were describing the fair skin and looking like Kamala, I was thinking this can't be the Miss Beryl grandma that's in Kamala's book. And clearly you see Lady C's going, wait, fair skin? What? Maybe is this? Nope, that's not Miss Beryl. I didn't dream. That's not Miss Beryl. Yeah, that sounds about right. You're saying Irish. And that's funny because Judge Joe Brown had a very distinct memory that Donald Harris told him that he was Irish and Hindu. And things are starting to add up, not in Kamala Harris's favor. And I don't know what to say here, ladies and gentlemen, other than I am truly, untypically speechless. I don't think I possess within me the adequate vocabulary to discuss my distaste for a woman who borrowed a Black person for her autobiography so that she could secure the Black vote. Do you understand how
Fraud. Like I told y'all, this whole campaign, you know, even besides all this, everything we've seen, fraud. Democratic Party, fraud. We know about you commies. You commies. Yeah, we know about you commies. We know about y'all. We know about y'all. Trump tried to tell us, man. We should have listened to Trump a long time ago.
fundamentally racist that is? Do you understand how
But when Trump called it out, you know what they call us. When we call it out, when we call the truth out, when we say the absolute obvious, they call us racist. They call us this. They call us that. Yeah.
despicable that is? I mean, you have to be the worst kind of political vermin to borrow a Black person to put in your book to present to the public as your grandma, who definitively was not your white Irish grandma. Okay, I don't have the word. I need someone to throw me a thesaurus so I can find it. I need to expand my vocabulary to be able to legitimately express my disgust for Kamala Harris and my now general disgust for any person who supports this woman or from here on out purports that she is the first Black anything, okay? She is beyond despicable. This woman has no soul. You have to have no soul to do that. And if my instincts are correct, the person that she is showing is indeed someone she knows and is likely, like I said from the very beginning, the help. The help who would have taken on the name of the people who they worked for. It's very common. This is why you talk about having slave names. You take on the last name, the first name. When we saw that woman who was listed looking for a housekeeper position that said Beryl or Christie, it is my suspicion that this was the help, meaning this was likely the woman that was working for the wealthy Miss Beryl who was buying her children Harley Davidsons. I mean, it's just, this is unbelievable. This should end her chances at the White House. If we have any sort of moral sensibility in this country, you would never allow a person like this to assume office, because if she is...
I think everything we've seen, you know, besides this, you know, even though this is huge, everything we've seen with this lady, everything we have seen from the interviews, from the rallies, from just hearing the woman talk, she should have been disqualified a long time ago. And those top Democrats, those Democrats was right. They said she cannot be on the ticket against Trump. They said it. They were even saying she isn't qualified. These were the top Democrats saying this. Right before Joe blew the motor and transmission and had to be kicked out out on the street after he blew the motor and transmission on the debate stage. Everything we've seen, man. Told you, these frauds, man. You know, but Trump tried to tell us a long time ago, but you know, he just, you know, had to be quiet about it to a certain extent, you know.
Willing to lie like this, if she is willing to, this is essentially the worst kind of blackface. Okay, this is what you are seeing now. Kamala Harris is in fact a minstrel show. She said, I'm running for president. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm just going to blackify myself. Fake aunties, fake uncle photos. Oh, I actually just called them. What is she going to say to this? Is she going to come out now and say, oh, when I said Grandma Beryl, I meant like that's just what we called her affectionately, Grandma Beryl, as she was doing our laundry and picking up after us. We called her, what is she going to say that is possibly going to be accepted? And will the press do their job now? Stop pretending this is a conspiracy and recognize that this woman put on blackface because she wants to win the election. Megan Thee Stallion, I'm calling you, every person who twerked, danced, applauded, said to the public, this is a black woman. It is now incumbent upon you to take a step back, examine what we have revealed, and to take it back. Take everything you said back about this woman. Apologize for platforming her, for believing this. It's fine. I'll accept the apology, but keep the exact same energy. Oh, she's black. Okay. Now that you know that she's not, you should be angry and you should present these facts to the public and to your followers and to your fan base. Like I said, I am shocked. I'm not shocked, but I am shocked. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am not surprised. It was inevitable. I was never going to let go. Like, I pretty much knew that I was on the right track. Her silence about the matter was deafening. The removal of everything seemed very suspicious. No longer speaking about her blackness seemed very suspicious.
And why can't we interview the daddy? Where's the daddy at? I love that Trump keeps bringing that up. Where's the daddy?
She's too highbrow. I'm not even going to address. You know why you're not going to address it? Because you're not black. You are not black. You never have been black a day in your life. You truly disgust me. I want you to know that you are filth. Kamala Harris is filth. Lady C was similarly shocked, gobsmacked, as she put it. Take a listen.
I'm gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. And it then begs the question, did she seriously think she was going to be able to get away with this?
She did.
I mean, I know Candace Owens has been going hell for leather on this, and Candace Owens is clearly black. So this is not about anti-blackness, because, as you could see, Dorothy is not white. So, I mean, I'm just stunned that any ambitious politician would present as a grandparent of hers, and Kamala Harris is very fair-skinned. Whether she calls herself black or brown, she's still fair-skinned. But she definitely has black blood. So to that extent, it's not anything artificial. What does seem to be extraordinary is the creation of a black grandmother when her grandmother was of color but wasn't black. And she just, did she get somebody off the street and pop them in the photograph? Was it a helper? Who was this woman?
Off the street.
It boggles the imagination.
Off the street with it.
Don't you worry. Leave it with me, Lady C. From one Lady C to another, I'm going to get to the bottom of who that woman is in the picture, and I'm going to get to the bottom of who the Irish barrel actually is, because here's what happens now. Blood is in the water, my friends, okay? If you watch the full interview, you should cut over to Lady C's YouTube channel and watch the entire thing. That woman gave a ton of accidental clues about the Irish barrel that we are now looking for. She excelled at mathematics. She built a home. She resembles Kamala Harris. She had black hair. She owned a store which specialized in making bustas. Now we can refocus our attention and look for the true barrel, the white-looking barrel. And we are going to be able to find that person. I sense it. Now, like I said, there is way too much information out there, and we need to put tremendous amounts of pressure for Kamala Harris to respond, because like I said, you have to be borderline psychopathic to do what she did. Do you understand? Like, just take a pause here and recognize how demented you have to be, okay, to approve the printing of a book with a photo featuring a photo of who you purport is your grandma barrel. You standing next to a woman who was likely cleaning your dirty underwear. Okay, likely. That's what I think. I feel it in my soul that that's who these women were that were pictured in here. This woman doesn't recognize Iris. Grandma Iris was the second photo she showed. We zoomed in on it. She doesn't recognize anyone. Dorothy's going, I don't know who these people are. Okay, you have to be utterly demented, hell-bent on power. You will stop at nothing to achieve power if you have no shame. If you have no shame, knowing that you come from a long line of slave owners, that you would then appropriate the identity of a real black woman so that you can what? Re-enslave black people in America today. That's exactly why she's doing it. She is disturbed, okay? Like I said, this is now a beginning. We get to refocus our attentions. I have a ton of suspicions. I truly believe that I was on the right track when I examined the same thing for Christiana Brown. I believe they're lying about who Christiana Brown is. And I'm going to find both of these women. What do we have, 18, 19 days until the election? I'm not letting go, guys. I am just, email me if you find any information, info@CandaceOwens.com. You know where we will be. This woman is not going to get away with this. I'm disgusted. All right, guys, also reminding you about preborn, because Kamala Harris.
Wow. Wow. You just can't make this up. You just can't, man. Whew. Yeah. What y'all think of that, man? Comment down below. You know, what do y'all think of all this, man? I gotta hear from them beautiful people around the world, them beautiful patriots, you know. But like I tell y'all, man, I don't care what she is, black, yellow, green, Caucasian, Filipino, Latino, you know. But is she qualified? She ain't even qualified. And then to have all this and then to run a campaign off identity politics, and we have to hear first black woman, you know, but the woman ain't even qualified. That's what makes me mad, man. Not even qualified. So it makes it even worse. Some people would just let it pass them by if it just, you know, okay, maybe she ain't, you know, okay, she ain't black, but, you know, maybe she is, maybe she ain't, maybe, you know, but the woman is qualified. But that's the point. She isn't qualified. And she's somewhere right now laughing. With all the problems and issues we have right now, laughing. Like everything's funny. And I think right now she's probably shaking out her shoes, word. They're sweating right now. And it's been one of the worst weeks for her campaign this week. You know, she missed the Al Smith dinner. She got destroyed on Fox. Her top surrogate, everybody is panicking right now. She's down in the polls. Trump is up in all swing states. It needs to be too big to rig, man. She does not deserve a promotion, man. Let me know what y'all think of all this. Huge shout out to Candace Owens. And I will catch you beautiful people in the next one. Peace and love, y'all.